how to get an attorney, how to get representation when you are in a custody battle or going to family court with a narcissistic ex. Welcome to my work. I'm author, mom survivor, narcissistic abuse recovery expert, coach, and strategist, Grace Rolston. I have 7 books for moms, including How to Fight a Narcissist in Family Court. And I'm going to say this isn't direct advice, but please prepare. So you could call up a lawyer and let the lawyer lead, or you could lead your lawyer and have prepared to speak to the lawyer. So I have a Get the Right Lawyer guide. And there is a little bit of a difference in the word lawyer and attorney, but they're often used interchangeably. I'll get into that. So welcome to my work for moms. I'm here to help the safe, loving, protective mom get organized, keep her custody of her children, keep her sanity. You know, your sanity is key. Preparation is key. And I'm here to educate and empower mothers and women. My background is loving and leaving an alcoholic, who my second lawyer, told me was a narcissist, and that launched a whole educational self-education program. So I know who and what I was dealing with, and I have a lot of videos on that. Learn all you can, because knowledge is power. My first is co-parenting with a narcissist, 7 self-rules to stay sane, because you'll need some grounding principles if you're going into the court battle. And my second is how to fight a narcissist in family court and win. Super smart strategies for success. It is a survivor story. I give all my tips, tools, and strategies that I used. What worked for me may not work for you. All 7 of my books, including Wisdom for Ending the Co-Parenting War and the Custody Battle, are all on Amazon. Read them 1 through 7. You can learn, heal, grow through this. You can outgrow the narcissist. My newest is We Survived a Narcissist, Believe You Can Too. And I have over 20 of my strategies in that book listed, which are in all of my books, little bits at a time, and you learn as you go. You can support me as a self-published author. Lawyer versus attorney. One of them's trained and went to law school, and attorney is practicing and licensed. Do you want a tax attorney for your family court battle? No, you would want a family court lawyer, someone experienced, someone practicing, someone with good reviews, or was referred to you by someone else. Just a quick disclaimer, this isn't direct advice, but I am strongly suggesting that you prepare. And how do you do this? Do you listen to the first attorney you talk to, even if they tell you everything you've ever wanted to hear? No, I've seen attorneys be narcissists and tell clients what the client wants to hear, overpromise, underdeliver, charge, keep the account going, and charge thousands and tens of thousands, up to hundreds of thousands of dollars to keep a battle going in family court and not just help the client save money. So, especially if you're going to court with a narcissist, which tends to drag on and on. They find themselves in court and jail because they are personality disordered. And, you know, many of us moms are empaths or codependents, and we're not fighters, we're lovers, and we're givers, not takers. And but when it comes to our children, we definitely want to protect the young and the vulnerable. Something in us rises up, and we want to make sure we can keep them safe. So get 3 to 4 names that you plan on calling. And I say you can go to a local DV agency. Why? Because they see all the abusers, and often they know the lawyers, or sometimes have a free lawyer for one time, which is what I use to get child support established. So 3 to 4 names of lawyers. And before that, I would read my whole Get the Right Lawyer guide and the 20-question Attorney-Interview Worksheet, because you'll know what you need to be asking and why. I say if you're going to call a DV agency because the narcissist is abusive, you might want to get your counselor installed right then and there, and you have someone to talk to. Why? Because the lawyer you call cannot provide emotional DV counseling support. They're there to file motions, reply, to represent you, to depose witnesses, to cross-examine on the stand, to speak to the judge in the way the judge knows. There can't support you emotionally, although I've seen some do it, but that costs a lot of money to talk to a $350 an hour lawyer when you really need to talk to a narcissist abuse recovery expert or a therapist or a DV counselor. So why 3 to 4? Because you might talk to the one lawyer who is a narcissist, tells you everything you want to hear. Yeah, you'll win, you'll get full custody, whatever they may say to you. It's music to your ears, and you go with them, but you didn't listen to other attorneys give you different perspectives, saying, oh, well, this judge, I've been up against him 10 times. He always does 50-50. So you've got to, or he doesn't understand DV at all. So you have to take this angle with this. So once hear from other attorneys, it might put a more balanced perspective and help you see from other sides. And why go to the DV agency? Because they often know lawyers, because they've had clients who's had to use lawyers, or they might have a lawyer for you and your children. And you will need some emotional support stepping up to an abuser, which is why I teach a whole different way, skillful means, and I'll talk about that at the end. But my Get the Right Lawyer guide will be at the in the description. You can click that link, buy it individually. It's in 2 of my books. I think the first one and the second one in the back. I added those later so that you had a resource to read through to understand that the judges don't think like us moms. The judge thinks like the judge, and it's best to think like he's thinking in a lot of cases, a lot of times when we're parenting or trying to co-parent. And when you read those questions of what do you want to ask a lawyer, you might get some of your burning legal questions answered in just a free consultation. I did that. Sometimes I would just call a lawyer who did free consultations, give them a quick summary, and say, what angle would they take, or what is the law for my state? And that can really be informational and help you get more grounded or different perspective, so that you don't have all these expectations and then get disappointed or create resentments. Then I have what I think is important after you read the Get the Right Lawyer guide is the 20 plus wants list. I talk about using lists. Lists keep me on track. I talk about documenting strategically. This 20 plus wants list gives us leverage. Most of the moms, including me, didn't ask for a lot. No, the narcissists don't want to give a lot, so we don't have a big list of things we want. But it can be very useful in a lot of cases to want a lot of things. It can turn a narcissist off from using court against you, because every time he goes and he wants something, you want 10 more items that the judge will typically order. And you can lead yourself by focusing on what you want instead of just taking what the courts give or doing what the narcissist wants. You start claiming your power, your worth, and stepping into what your rights are as a parent when you focus on the things that you want. And the whole point of this is it doesn't come from you. So it's what a judge typically orders, it's what the state guidelines are, it's what your child needs. But the presentation of it has to be, your attorney's going to ask for it as standard, or the judge typically orders this if we use court, and all of that positioning and presenting them as in those ways helps you get to negotiation, or may help you get to negotiation with a narcissist. And that's how it went for me after a 12-year family court battle, where I was saying this is what I want, and my lawyer was advocating for me and speaking on my behalf, and instead I had to learn how to turn the target of blame off of myself. You can learn about that in my books. When we focus on what we want, and a lot of moms don't know what they want, they don't know what they want for a schedule. So I have some examples in a long guide. When you pad this list, you've got some negotiation room, and you are now scaring the narcissist. They don't want to give any narcissistic supply. They certainly don't want to be held accountable for more things and more responsibility. So this can be where you create leverage. And then when you go to your lawyer, you say, here's what I want. Here's my 20 things. And if you could get the top 5, because you've already read my guide and you've got it organized, what's most important, health and safety of the children first. So usually it's time with the protective parent. Once you've got that organized, your lawyer can just go forth with that, knows what you want. So you're not just defending yourself from the narcissist all the time. You actually have an offense. And then with the 20 plus wants list, there's a bonus guide that talks about positioning it. And I call it framing it. You put it in a nice frame, that this is something the judge typically orders in your case, not something that you want or your lawyers decided to ask for since court is ongoing, and this might help. I just don't like it when lawyers pit parties against each other, parent against parent. It's not healthy. It doesn't make for co-parenting peacefully or cooperative. It's best that you get to negotiations where you're not the narcissist target of blame or all what he wants to attack. It's better that he be upset with the judge and the laws and the rules of the court and the state, or even the attorney, versus you as the co-parent trying to get along and raise children. So I talk about the target of blame, or the TOB, not being that. And you might want to read about narcissists and why they just won't negotiate with an enemy, why being the narcissist target of blame can be so harmful. You can read about my skillful means approach, which is talking at their level, positioning yourself, framing the 20 wants list as something that the judge typically orders or you want. I explain all that. And I also say, start a recovery program, CODA, ACOA, Al-Anon, something that is proven and free and not led by somebody, because at the end of the day, you want to be a healthy, stable, supported mom raising a child instead of just a burnt out victim of family court failures. And I found my recovery programs, and I tried many meetings, some online, some by phone. And those are the places that I grounded myself for any battles or any type of unfairness or injustice. Because if I handled it gracefully, I looked like the better, healthier, more stable parent to the judge instead of the frantic, frazzled, um, underserved, disadvantaged parent, who's anxious and worried for the kids. And I presented like that for many years until I really started working my recovery program with a sponsor, really looking at this, how it's affecting me. I had legal abuse and post-separation abuse, which I call co-parenting abuse. And I teach all my strategies and how to label the tactics or name the game so they can lose power over you. And I have a whole list of tactics and narcissists will use when they are up against what they perceive as an enemy. So anyway, I hope this helps you get some idea that preparing for getting an attorney is important, because when you approach the attorney, and I've had moms not be able to get attorneys because they say, hey, do you take high conflict cases, and blah, 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 blah. And they sound emotionally unraveled, disorganized, they desperately need an attorney, but they have a high conflict case, and the attorney's going to hear from them every 5 seconds what the narcissist is doing or not doing, or child abuse. So attorneys will turn those cases away. So there's ways that you can prepare, so that you come across as a good client to represent who's got it together. And you can just ask them, well, what are the 5 things I need to document? Because I want to document strategically. Just a quick disclaimer, everything I'm saying is not direct advice. What worked for me may not work for you. Take what's helpful, leave the rest. This is survivor wisdom. Getting a lawyer on board, an attorney, is empowering. And quite often, our custody case is only as good as our attorney. And the documentation we have, and the stability that we have, and the strategies that we're relying on. And I teach not just my tips, tools, but my strategies now. This is the Get the Right Lawyer Guide. It'll be in the link below. I give you Attorney-Interview Worksheet where you can fill that all out. Think about that. You can work with me and I'll help you fill it out. before you approach the attorney so that you're maximizing those legal consultations. The 20 plus wants list helps you gain leverage, instant leverage, really. If the disadvantaged target starts asking for things that a judge will want and the state will order, it's in the guidelines, this can be your power tool. It'll keep you and your lawyer on track. It's just the guide. It's not a legal document, just so you know. My second book is, talking about family court with a narcissist and how to document strategically. I see moms, and I was one of them, documenting everything he was doing. I kept focusing on him. It was so upsetting day in, day out. I had so much documentation. I couldn't organize it, couldn't present it well. And my lawyer tuned me out after a while. And he was just as upset at everything my ex was doing. My ex's personality disorder. There was going to be a lot of disorder. So documenting strategically, your lawyer consultation can help with that. And I have a guide. You can buy those guides individually or pick them up in all 7 of my books. I don't know which one is where at this point. Your lawyer may say limit your communication with a narcissist, make it all child focused and friendly. I say limit it because you're my answer to everything you say, and lecturing, preaching, confronting a narcissist doesn't always look good for us in family court. So I have that video. I also have Know the Narcissist, what drives them, what motivates them in a family court battle. I have a video about strategies because you're going to need many strategies. It's a high conflict situation, especially if you've left and you're trying to break free of narcissistic abuse and you don't want your kids narcissistically abused. You can come to my blog, read for free, like and subscribe. Thank you so much for listening, either on Spotify or watching on my YouTube channel. I hope you got something from this. If you did, find me on Facebook and message me what was most helpful hearing. I touched on some things that I actually have longer videos on and go into more depth in my books. Some of the moms say my books are very validating. It keeps them going through the tough times. I have a free Substack newsletter. I'm here to support you. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you pick up my guide and start preparing to talk to a lawyer instead of just calling frantically and desperately the first one you get a hold of. So remember, you have choices. Find what your options are, and remember to learn, heal, and outgrow that narcissist.